I am going to continue discussing relationships. Why black men? Unpacking the unspoken desires of women. Now, on this video, I'm going to get into some controversial topics, but I figured it's probably would be best if I start with something light. We see a couple walking down the aisle. We see uh, a black man who is marrying this black woman. And I would agree that most people, when they see something like this, they would have positive feelings, right? Marriage is something, and long term relationships, pledges for long term commitment is something that's um, praised in most cultures, right? Humans have been engaging in this type of activity for a very long time. And what I wanted to do on this video was I wanted to get into black relationships and how the media and a large part of society almost demonizes black relationships to a degree, right? And I wanted to get into why that is. Now, in order for me to get into why that is, I would also have to get into um the hierarchy of needs, right? I would have to get into the hierarchy of needs. So stay with me, and I'm going to break this down. Okay. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is something I really like to get into when I'm breaking down relationships. So we have physiological needs, safety and security, love and belonging, self esteem, self actualization, you guys. Most people, in my opinion, and you're learning as we go, right? I'm learning as I go. Most people struggle with relationships because we have problems getting past our first two levels, safety and security. Now, the reason that is because we have external forces at work. One second, guys. The reason that we have problems is because there's an external force. Okay, the external force, I would call it the government, I would call it the state, but the external force is present in the relationships, meaning that the two people in the relationship, they would need a system to support them in order to support the relationship. So in this topic, I'm going to get into why black men and unpacking the unspoken desires of women. On the basic level, women desire men to get their physiological needs met, safety and security, love and belonging, self-esteem, and even self-actualization. That's something have been broken down. And the same with men. Men desire women for these reasons, women desire men for these reasons. But the external force is something that I have to get into, which prohibits the union, right? So I'm gonna share my screen again. That prohibits the union. Now, the union that a lot of people would want is a healthy relationship. But most people can't get into a healthy relationship because we have the external force, which is the government or the system, as some people would call it. Now, ironically, when most people begin to talk, they don't go to the root of the problem. We start off by discussing the symptoms of the problems. Black men desire healthy, fulfilling relationships. I think that most people would agree with that. The reason that a lot of men are unable to get that is because the system doesn't really promote healthy relationships. It's an entire industry that's profiting off of unhealthy relationships. So since there's an entire industry or industries, right, profiting off of unhealthy relationships, the system is not going to promote it. The system is not going to promote stable incomes for black men to provide for their families. Even though black men are exceptional, so many of us we make it work anyway. The system is not going to promote a healthy environment when we need to get healthcare, education, even the entertainment that we receive is full of negativity. Now, guys, this is either true or it's false. What I'm saying is either true or it's false. But we have to get into why that is. And I realize once we start asking questions, logically our brain is going to go into trying to find an answer. I argue that the entire Western world, but I will go into say the whole world, is designed to make sure that people classified as black have unstable relationships. If people that were classified as black, male and female, had stable relationships, a lot of the dysfunction that people make money off of would cease to exist, right? If black people were able to reach self actualization, right? If black people were able to be all that they are meant to be, then they would no longer be dependent on a white majority. They would successfully run businesses. They would successfully run international trade. They would successfully have control over their autonomy, right? So I once read this theory by Neely Fuller Jr., who has recently passed this February, but he stated that black men and black women can't actually be married to one another because we have a system of racism that exists. And as long as racism exists, black men and black women cannot really be in relationships. They can attempt relationships, but marriage is so tied to justice that in order to have a relationship, one would need to be free, right? But since both parties have to go to the dominant society for their needs, they can't be married because they don't have autonomy over themselves. What do I mean? Okay, we're going to focus on the United States, but I can go into the larger society as well. But let's focus on the United States. In the United States, currently, Gen Z young millennials are not getting married. And many millennials, young millennials, and Gen Zers are not having babies. Now, many people would argue that they're not having babies because they're waiting. They want to see what life would be like, without the added responsibility of a child. A large reason why young people are not reproducing or not entering into marriage is because the environment does not promote it. Most people are looking at the situation and like the economy, the system does not promote a family structure in the West. And in order to have a family, one would need to be wealthy, essentially, because most people will want to give their kids a better life. And in order to live in the United States, one has to make a certain amount of income in order to express their humanity. So this has a huge reason why young people are not getting married because that goes into their physiological needs and safety and security. I argue that most people are not getting married because they fear that they would have to risk safety and security in order they would have to forego safety and security to receive love and belonging. Now, love and belonging is something that most people seek, but they're unable to get. Why? Because they are so busy trying to get their most basic needs met. And I can't stress this enough. Most people are trying to get their most basic needs met. So they're not even in a position to get love. Now, why are they trying to get their most basic needs met? Why are they struggling, I should say? And why black men? Why are black men still so desired even though they are marginalized in the society? Well, one, because black men have a tendency to overcome extreme obstacles. And when someone is searching for a partner, they want someone that doesn't easily give up, right? Because life is hard. Also, in life, black men are perceived as strong, masculine. Black men dominate the athletic field, sports. So to say, and I said this in other videos, and some people will critique them like, oh, they're not masculine, they're raised by single moms, they're this and that. No, a lot of black men have, come from two parent homes. You know, that would be untrue. Uh, Black men are masculine, without a doubt. Black men are very masculine. However, even though they're masculine, they are, and I'm a black man, and I could speak on this. We are still dominated in the United States and worldwide because our original systems of government was destroyed, and now we live in a system of injustice and is dominated by injustice. And when we seek to promote justice, example, the civil rights movement, uh, the recent protests, when we when we seek to promote justice, we can ask for it, but we can't deliver it. Why can't we deliver it? Because we don't have a military or a branch that's designed to protect our rights. So we can ask for things, but we can't guarantee it. Hence why Neely Fuller Jr. said that black men and black women can't be married because black men and black women are forced they are forced to go to the dominant society for resources. And the whites own the resources. They own the means of production. They own the planet. They dominate the planet, right? Now, once again, this is either true or it's false. And I know that so many people are probably going to get upset for me saying this. I get it. A lot of people are going to get upset for me saying this because it is very heavy. But without further ado, I'm going to show you better than I can tell you. So I argue, let me state my point. Most black people are in a system of injustice. All black people really. But why black men? Why are they still so desired? I would say because the what black men have been able to do in the system of injustice is really just remarkable. And I think that this is why so many women find themselves attracted to black men, right? The fact that black men I'm gonna focus on the United States, fought to get rights, fought for justice. Black men, um, a small percentage of the United States have made such a dominant impact on the culture within the United States. And when you think of black men, they didn't have to subjugate other people in order to have such an influence. And I think that that's what make black men desirable to women is the fact that a lot of black men seek to produce justice in a system of inequality, right? Now, are black men perfect? No. We are flawed. Black women are flawed. All of us, all humans are flawed. And I will argue that none of us are as good as what we should be. And the reason that we're not as good as we should be is because we have this system of injustice. Now, without further ado, I'm going to talk about the third party that gets in the way of us.
There's some men out here that can't see their children because the woman feel like he is not paying her enough child support. So you as a woman feel like he can't pay you no child support, or if he's not paying enough based on what you think he should pay, that he don't deserve to see his child. My sister, you're gonna suffer for that.
Now, I'm not playing this video to upset anyone. I'm just showing this video to get into the deeper discussion. Okay, let me share my screen again. So, guys, in order to raise a child, we would need to have a system to support it. In order to have a relationship, you would need a system to support it. For example, why do I keep repeating that? If the world is in chaos, like let's say there was a major catastrophic event, it would be difficult to have a relationship because there would be no organized system for people to operate in, right? Well, what we have is organized chaos. We have is chaotic, but it's still organized to a degree, right? And this is put in place to prevent certain people. And it's a long history of this, eugenics and stuff of that nature to stop certain people from reproducing or keep them in a prolonged instability. So when we go to safety and security, we see health, employment, property, family, and social ability. Now, in order to get to love and belonging, friendship, family, intimacy, sense of connection, safety and security would have to be optimal. Now, here's my argument. My argument is that we're not allowed, the black people are not allowed, especially black men, to get to a place of safety and security. Health, we don't control anything that deals with the health industry at all. So we don't control the employment, we don't control the real estate market, the properties, and as a result, it's difficult for us to form families. Now we do have survival units, as Dr. Francis Chris Westling would say, or Neely Fuller Jr. would say, but it's difficult for us to have families. But I would argue what make black men attractive is what we attempt to do in the face of injustice, right? So, okay, let me share my screen again. Um, I want to get into I want to get into what makes black men so attractive. I think what makes us attractive is the fact that we we attempt to still build families and we attempt to still overcome injustice when most people would probably give up. Most people would probably give up and not try to be in wait because to attempt to have a family in the system of injustice is just really remarkable, the fact that people even try, right? And so that means that the desire to survive is stronger than racism or injustice. Okay. But we have this third party system that's involved in everything. And the third party system is, you know, the child support agencies, the divorce courts, and these things are put in place that prevents people from being in good relationships, guys, because it jeopardizes what? It jeopardizes safety and security. And I think that this is why there's this huge discussion online between the genders on why black women are not getting married, because obviously black women desire marriage. Why black men desire relationships, but they're not getting, or they're not feeling love and belonging, right? Black men desire relationships, but black men struggle to get to the point of safety and security. Most black men feel unsafe. Most black women feel unsafe because even when we try to protect ourselves in this system, we are still punished. So I would argue most people are stuck at in the red. Most people are stuck in the red. They're trying to get their physiological needs met. Some people are able to elevate to safety and security, but it's never, unless things change, it's never going to be what it should be. Because if we're always focusing on the red and the orange, how can we get to the yellow? And then how can we get to the green, where we have confidence, achievement, respect of others, and the need to be a unique individual, which would then foster an environment where we can reach self-actualization. The environment doesn't promote that. We don't live in a healthy environment, you guys. Okay, and I'm gonna show you this. When you have images like this is unhealthy. This is unhealthy, guys. When you have like
A single
stuff
mother
like this,
is allowed to spend her child support money on whatever she wants, and let me tell you why. I've been seeing a lot of controversy on what a woman can and cannot spend her child support money on. People are making TikToks about it, people are talking on their podcasts about it, saying that a single mother is not allowed to spend her child support money on her electricity, on her rent, or on her Wi-Fi. Let me just break it down for you on why a single mother is allowed to spend child support money on whatever she would like. So let's say a single mother goes to the store on the first of the month and she buys her child all new clothes and all new shoes, and she spends $300 on her child, and now her child has everything they need. But then on the 15th of the month, she goes back to the store to buy diapers and wipes for her child and spends $200, right? That's $500. Now let's say on the 21st of the month, the father of her child sends her $350. She is allowed to take money from that child support and pay her electric. She is allowed to pay her Wi-Fi. She is allowed to use that money for her rent, because that money is a reimbursement of what she already spent on the child, and it's not even a complete reimbursement. Not to mention, a lot of these men that are paying child support are only paying what the judge tells them to pay. So they are not helping cover the cost of child care the single mom is paying for, just so she could put her child in child care so that she can work to pay for that child care. And best believe those men are not paying for food for the child weekly, are not buying new clothes for the child, are not buying new shoes for the child. They're only sending a set amount that that woman has to deal with. So if a single mother is paying for everything for her child throughout the month, and the father of her child has to pay $10 in child support, $100 in child support, or $1,000 in child support, amount is different, and she decides to spend that money on her electric, on her rent, that is fine, because she has already provided for her child. A single mother is allowed.
and honestly, guys, I don't disagree with her. So I don't disagree with her, right? If you have a child, the child needs support. But what I would argue that this is a conflict, because we need the safety and security, but we become adversaries to one another in this system where a man's health, employment, property, family, and social ability, his safety and security can be threatened based on the fact that he entered into a relationship. Now, people enter relationships to achieve love and belonging, as well as getting their physiological and safety and security needs, man. But it's really in hope to reach a point of love and belonging. But the system does not foster support in that area. We don't get that when we try to have it, but we attempt it. So what's interesting is a lot of people are saying that they don't want this. They don't want to have marriage. Now this is a wedding. So a wedding and a marriage are the same thing. But people are saying that they don't want the union of being together for whatever reason. Mainly, people argue that the union would somehow put their safety and security at risk. Yet, we end up in a situation like this when we have um the child support issue.
Hey, 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 bitch! Look what I just got! Coming!
Guys, okay. I gotta point out some of the obstacles that men face and women too, both genders face. I'm I keep restating the same thing, but sometimes I gotta slow walk it because you have people with different understanding of the issue. This is really not good for people, right? The fact that people are not having families, which is safety and security, we are foregoing marriage, and not just marriage in the sense of a wedding, but the two people together, we're foregoing this love and belonging. We're foregoing this for this.
You know what? Let me open it with you guys. Oh my god! Fuck you, bitch! Oh.
I'm not making this up. So sometimes when I'm talking, it seems as I know sometimes people probably like, man, this guy is just. I'm just reacting to what people are going through, guys. Now, I'm pro relationship. I'm pro family. I don't even think that should be controversial. So we need to get to a space where we can have uh, love and belonging, safety and security, our physiological needs met. We can raise our vibration, our self-esteem, and we can reach self-actualization, both parties, so that everybody in the relationship is where they need to be and no one is mistreated. Unfortunately, I believe that the obstacles that we run into is that is that we have a system that does not promote it. And as long as the system doesn't promote it, we're not going to have it because we are victims in the system. The system have shown us historically that we are victims of the system. Now, what makes us desirable is that we're trying to fix it. We're advocating to fix it. We're advocating for change. We're willing to show up and do everything that we can do to make the world a better place. And as long as we're divided, we're not going to get there. I think that according to Neely Fuller, and I agree with what he says, and even if I don't agree with him, I believe it to be true. He said that it could be mutual, but it can never be harmonious. And that's what I think. I think that it can be harmonious because we have stuff like this. Um it can't be harmonious because we have stuff like this going on that's affecting the young people. Okay.
Dude, this fucking guy is so out of touch with reality. So Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, a multi-billionaire, is saying the reason why Gen Zers are having a hard time finding jobs right now is because they're not going into the right fields when they're studying college. He explains that more students need to go into cybersecurity, programming, financial management. My nigga, are you serious? You know how many times I've seen multiple videos on this app of kids who graduated from Yale, Harvard, Princeton, a bunch of Ivy League schools who graduated with computer science majors or
How are people going to have this? Is what I'm talking about when I say the system doesn't promote it. You got the CEO of one of the biggest banks saying why jobs and corporations are not hiring people. How can people have families? Let me go back to the hierarchy of need. Safety and security. In safety and security, you have employment, health, employment, property, family, social ability. If they can't get this straight, they're not going to get into the yellow, love and belonging. And I have to stress that enough. I can't stress that enough. This is something that should be taught to everybody. Have an understanding of this. As a result, no, I don't think that people are going to have marriages or lasting marriages if they can't get safety and security. If the system promotes it, then we're going to have it. If the system doesn't promote it, we're not going to have it. The desire for it to be there still exists. The desire for it to exist is still there. But as long as the system doesn't promote it, then we don't have the resources necessary to produce the desired result, which is this. We wanna have a stable family. We wanna have, justice. Now the bigger question I think people should ask is, why don't we have it? Why are so many young people screaming to the top of their lungs about this, but we still don't have justice? We are advocating and people want to have the relationships, meaning it's mutual. Both parties want to have the relationship. This man and this woman in this video, they want to have the relationship. They want to be together. That they love each other. But meaning that they want justice for each other. But the environment doesn't promote them to have the relationship. Okay. And I'm going to show you what I mean.
But Gen Z job market collapsing under AI pressure. AI tools are replacing tasks once done by junior staff in tech, finance, and consulting, and entry-level hiring has slowed. Gen Z grads are graduating into uncertainty.
I think AI's number
This
one
is
power, at least in my
this is the environment, guys. I have to sometimes rework this so people can understand environment is the problem. We have to make the environment better if we want those desired results.
I'm Gen Z. I can't find a job. I apply to 500 to 1,000 jobs a day, and I'm completely broke. Please help.
You think somebody is getting on the internet and they're saying this? If it was untrue. So since young people are struggling, I'm gonna go back to the tab. As long as we struggle when it comes to safety and security, and employment is a big one, but it's not the only thing. Let's go to property, right? Let's go to property. Property, okay? Continuing to build all these ridiculous ass apartment complexes, but charging almost $3,000 for one bedroom. And who in the hell are affording to move into these ridiculously high, overpriced, expensive apartments? The national average salary is like $1,000, something like that. I'm not the best at math, but 56,000 divided by 12 is like $4,600 a month. That's like 75% of your check gone if you're paying 3,000 for. So when I'm saying that the environment doesn't promote healthy relationships, the relationship is not just between the two people, okay? The relationship is between the two people and the rest of the society, the people. But when we have situations like this proves what I'm telling you guys. And then this goes into property, which affects family, which affects social ability, which affects health. Okay. It affects those things. For an apartment. Not to mention you got food, you got electricity bill, got car payment, car insurance, gas. You like to go shopping, get new clothes. God forbid you need a haircut every 2 weeks or you got to get your hair done. And God forbid you have fucking kids' mouths to feed. That bingo. We're going to get it. I'm going to slow walk it. I'm going to slow walk it. So now, with this like this, we can understand why the marriage rates are declining, guys. And I think what make people so special is the fact that she's going to make a video denigrating. It's almost like if we can find a way to denigrate relationships, would be what we should do. Is like misery loves company. You know what I'm saying? We are trying to express our humanity, guys. When we see relationships, long-term relationships, that's people expressing their humanity, guys. And so many people have a problem with us expressing our humanity, guys. And it really just is very heavy. You know what I mean? That when we try to express ourselves, we're demonized. But staying on topic, I am going to go back to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Most people, especially black men, I think what makes black men desirable is that they face this problem head on. Black men are resilient. The fact that all of this exists and black men still attempt to have families, have marriages, obtain property, obtain employment, work on their health, attempt to have friendships, family, intimacy, develop a sense of connection, love, and belonging, have a healthy self-esteem, reach self-actualization. That's what makes black men attractive. That's why I think a lot of women are drawn to black men, because if it's hard for everybody in the system and we're living in a system where historically, that means when you say historically, you're saying that it is a track record of this occurring. So there's a track record of black men not being treated fairly as a minority in the country. And the fact that black men fight to overcome these injustices, that make black men even more attractive, guys. That make black men even more attractive because they are in the system that doesn't even promote certain things, and yet they try their best, you know, yet they try their best. And that's another thing that I've noticed on the internet too, is that when we try to type in certain topics, when we try to type in certain topics, the algorithm would opposite of what we're searching. Think about that. Even when we, like right now, I'm actively searching positive images and they still show me something negative. So the environment doesn't promote it. And I think that I want to get into what makes black men so attractive, right? And I think for me, it would be the resilience, the strength, the masculinity. The way that we view the world. I would say the way that we even view women. I think that black men have such an appreciation of women. Black men have such an appreciation for art, the way that we view the world. Excuse me, some of the greatest artists in the world have been black men. We view the world with such a unique view that we find beauty in the struggle. I think that's what makes us attractive. And I think that once we realize that we can make the world a better place by making the situation with everybody getting better healthcare, better employment, um, producing justice in all areas, education, economics, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion. But as soon as we begin to start talking about these things, it makes people uncomfortable because we don't really want to see the world be a better place. And when I say we, I'm talking about the majority of people. The people that's at the top, that's not voicing this opinion.
Here are 3 reasons why women love black men. I have history dating all ethnicities, all races, and I can assure you that most women do find black men intriguing, especially if you are attractive. Now, the first reason why they actually love and sometimes prefer black men is because black men usually tend to be more dominant. Dominant characteristics equates to more masculinity, and more masculinity is more attractive to a vast majority of women. Number 2, black men usually showcase high amounts of sex appeal. Sex appeal is anything that makes you more sexually attractive. So this can be your physique, this can be tattoos, this can be jewelry, this can be your jawline. Black men overall just tend to showcase more of those traits naturally, thus giving them a natural amount of sex appeal and swag, as they call it, which also is basically like confidence and dominance. Now, we're all thinking it, I know you're thinking it, and that is the BBC stereotype. Even if a woman doesn't usually prefer black men, I found that interracially, some women will still experiment with the black man only because of the BBC stereotype. And if you don't know what BBC means,
We're not even gonna go there, brother. But black men are attractive, guys. And we we understand this. Like the world understands this. And I think that this goes into, let me go back to the self-esteem. If they could convince you guys that you're unattractive to affect your confidence, your sense of achievement, is going to have you in a position where you feel as though or think that you don't deserve love and belonging, safety and security, your physiological needs. Your self-esteem has to be at a unbreakable point in order to reach self-actualization. Most people, their self-esteem, white or black, male or female, is not where it should be. Why? And I'm not talking about fake self-esteem. Self-esteem is really based on your track record of how you operate in the world. And so black men are attractive guys, and that's really why women desire black men, is because despite all of these obstacles that everybody goes through, black men don't give up. Black men continue to persevere and try to produce justice. And I believe that to attempt a system of injustice is a revolutionary act. So that's been my episode today, guys. Thank you if you came into the stream. You can also support the mission by donate via Cash App. That's the Cash App on the screen. And